Welcome to another IWrocker clips compilation video. And this one, well, we're going to crank out a lot of these this month, okay? We're going to go heavy on the car content because it's always been one of the staples of the IWrocker channel. And we're starting it out easy this time. This is a compilation of more recent videos, the last couple years or so, of me learning. If I could learn how to talk, that'd be pretty cool. Learning about different various European cars. Most of these, of course, cars that we just didn't get because the U.S. market is insane in a bad way. Like, we miss out on so many awesome vehicles because of various reasons. And then we will have some more compilations and kind of deep dives into specific niches in vehicles and motorsports coming up, so please stay tuned for that. But yes, please enjoy this compilation of various European vehicles that I'm seeing for the first time and learning slightly about, and expect me to be like a kid in a candy shop. I'm very excited to see these things. I am just a car nerd, quite honestly, always have been, and seeing vehicles from different countries that we don't have access to is honestly messed up. It's a great experience, but it's a bad one because I feel like I'm missing out, you know? One day, I hope I am able to import something really fun and unique from some random European market and take a joyride here in the US. And I'm sure many people will have no idea what the car is, and that'll be all that much better. Anyway, enough rambling from me. Please enjoy this compilation. Stay tuned. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm actually going to go full screen. Why the hell not? And voila, 10 muscle cars, all 10 European muscle cars that put America to shame. Wow. Sounds interesting to me. Although traditional muscle cars have from the U.S., here are some unlikely heroes from Europe that just might rival them. And I don't know what we have in the picture here, but I like it already. It looks pretty freaking awesome. Of course, we know the formula for your typical muscle car here in the U.S. Large displacement V8s, intermediate platform, 2 doors. Oh, and of course, rear-wheel drive. That should be obvious as well. So starting with number 10, we have 72 to 89. There was a vehicle called the De Tomaso Longchamp. Now, I've heard of De Tomaso. The only one I've heard of is the De Tomaso. I think it's called the Pantera, right? And I actually can't tell you much about that car. It was kind of exotic looking, and I believe it was from the 70s. This is a De Tomaso Longchamp, and sure enough, it does kind of have muscle car qualities here. We have the long front end, a long hood, right, that you definitely see, dominating the bottom of your view from the driver's seat. So that checks out. 2-door, kind of a fastback look a little bit. I mean, we can't really get a good look of the side rear profile there. But this shared a platform with the Maserati Kyalami. That's an interesting car. Never heard of that either. Although with a shorter wheelbase to accommodate the coupe styling, or coupe, sorry if I say that wrong. We say coupe over here in the U.S. Unlike the Maserati, the Longchamp got its power from a Ford 351 cubic inch, the good old Ford 351, we know that motor. The 351 Cleveland, to be exact. Not the Windsor, but the Cleveland V8. This is also the same engine that the De Tomaso utilized for the legendary Pantera. Okay, gotcha. I thought I do remember hearing that Pantera used a Ford motor. So that's kind of cool. This is a proper muscle car then. 351 Cleveland, rear-wheel drive, 2-door. I kind of like that. Let me look up more pictures of this. So if we look up more pictures, oh yeah, look at that. Yo, that is actually hella cool. I have never heard of this thing, by the way, in my life. I really dig it. You know what's cool is it does indeed remind me of a proper muscle car, but it somehow looks European, as it should. It looks European. It doesn't look American. How cool is that? I think that's kind of neat, discovering cars that are muscular, but they're not American. Yeah, look at that. How rare are these? I imagine they're pretty rare. If anyone's ever seen one of these, ridden them, owned them, let me know. We even have a proper muscle car interior, at least in my eyes. Look at these bucket seats. We got the shifter down here. And all your gauges kind of driver focused here with this classic steering wheel. Yeah, I'm digging this for sure, dude. Look at that thing. That's actually pretty awesome. There's a proper look at the front and the rear of one of these things. Wow. All right, and then moving on, we have the 1972 to 74, so pretty rare, only 3 model years, the Monica 560. I have never heard of this in my life either, never heard of that brand or anything. This is a proper 4-door muscle car. Yeah, it says typically most muscle cars are 2 doors, but of course exceptions do occur, and yes, there are definitely 4-door muscle cars as well. I mean, even modern day, right? Dodge loves to promote the Charger Hellcat, SRT Charger, all these different things, right? They're muscle cars, but they're 4 doors, of course. Granted, I know the classic Charger from the 60s and 70s is 2-door. Anyway, the Monica 560 was a lesser-known French luxury car that was built in low volume from 72 through 74. Powering the Monica was a Chrysler 340, mated to a torque flight automatic or a ZF 5-speed manual. How freaking awesome, dude. Top speed of 150. That's actually really fast for the era. Monica 560 was touted as the world's fastest sedan. What? What is this gem? I've never heard of it. No wonder. It's hella rare. 40 units ever produced. Look at that thing. It's gorgeous. And it is muscular, especially with these wheels. Again, long front end. Kind of that swooping roof to the rear of the car. Transition there. Swooping back end. It's got the right proportions, even being a 4-door. It's almost kind of like got a like a coupe profile, even though it is a 4-door. It doesn't look like a boring sedan. This is cool. I imagine these fetch a lot of coin. Let's just say that. Okay, and then we have the 80s with the Rover SD1, and the late 70s actually. Now, I've been told to look at Rovers and I don't know anything about them. It's still on my to-do list. But I tell you what, I think this might be one of the vehicles I've seen in some emergency vehicle videos, like an old police car or perhaps was made out of one of these. I actually really like this. It says the Rover SD1 might be the closest example of a European muscle car in existence, mostly because it's the only car in this list that didn't come with an insanely high price tag. For most Europeans, reasonably priced cars offering V8s didn't exist, especially in countries that saw buyers paying taxes on engine displacement. Yeah, see, that's the thing about that I've learned is that's why muscle cars aren't insanely popular in Europe, because it's just not practical with all the just taxes involved with, of course, fuel, high engine displacement, that type of thing. So I get it. But the fact that there are some gems out there is really cool. Even so, the Rover SD1 was heralded as many as a muscle car because of its 3.5-liter V8. That's kind of cool. It is actually derived from an earlier design by Buick. The SD1 was also popular with British police forces. See? I knew it. We saw it in an old, like a parade of old British emergency vehicles. That's really cool. And you know what? I really dig this thing. I really dig it. Again, doesn't look American at all, but it does look muscular. And it doesn't look like a sedan. If you like didn't pay attention to the doors, you'd think it was a muscle car. So the fact that it hides the 4 doors in there is actually kind of cool. I really dig this. It's definitely not ugly, but I wouldn't even call it like, pretty either. It's kind of weird looking. I just like it. It works. This is a cool car, dude. Then we have the Monteverdi 375 High Speed. Again, another vehicle I've never heard of. This is awesome as well. Long nose. I love the vents everywhere. I don't know if they're real or for aesthetics, but they're pretty cool. I'm leaning towards they probably do have some sort of a function on older cars. I mean, older cars usually had that. Nowadays is where you have all like the fake aesthetic things. This is actually really neat. This is a Swiss car. Are you serious? What? I did not even know that. This is a Swiss muscle car. How freaking cool is that? This one looks indeed like a muscle car with the touch of class. It looks classy as well. And how freaking epic is this? These could be had with one of the best engines ever. I'm a Mopar guy at heart. Remember this. Indeed, you could get a Chrysler 440 big block in this puppy. Okay, sign me up for this. Hell yes. Then we have a 6972 Aston Martin DBS V8. Now, I actually don't know much about Aston Martin when it comes to history and stuff, but I do know modern Aston Martins, they just look gorgeous. Whenever I've seen them in person, my jaw drops. I think they're absolutely works of art. They're beautiful. These old ones, though, really, really same level. I mean, these must have been jaw-dropping back in the day compared to, most cars from 1969, for example. These are really cool, and these are for sure muscle cars. I'm not surprised to see Aston Martins on here. They are very muscular. They do deal with big engines, growling V8s, right? And of course, two-door coupes. You even have a hood scoop on this thing. This is definitely a muscle car. I love it. Then we have a Jensen Interceptor. I've heard this name maybe in like random auctions or something, but I couldn't picture it if you asked me this 5 minutes ago. But now that I see it, I don't really recognize it, but I recognize the name. But there it is. It's kind of a weird shape, actually. It's not my favorite design, but it's cool. It's still unique, and it definitely is European. It doesn't look American, but I like the wheels, and even it has a white letter BF Goodrich's on it. It fits the muscle car theme perfectly. I do like the front end of it. This back here isn't my favorite. I guess it's not my favorite design when it comes to this. I guess this would be what, like a B pillar or C pillar back here. And then the windows, it's just a little bizarre looking, kind of busy, I guess. And the way it falls kind of flat down here. But yeah, it's a unique vehicle, and it's definitely a muscle car. What the heck is this? A Bizzarini 5300 GT? Damn, is this even a muscle car? It's a cool car. I mean, I do like it. I would almost call this more of an exotic or like a Grand Tourer. So I'm not going to necessarily agree with all these, and you have to tell me in the comments, of course, the same if you agree or disagree with some of these. I'm assuming this had a V8, right? Yeah, it did. It had a Chevy 327, so I had an excellent V8. But I don't know if this would be a muscle car. Then we have an Aston Martin V8 Vantage from the late 70s in through the 80s. Now, this might be the most, dare I say, like American-esque muscle car on the list. I'm surprised to see that from Aston Martin. But, I mean, look at it up here. This looks like a Mustang almost in front. I like it. I hope that doesn't offend. I'm not saying it looks like a Mustang as a whole. It doesn't. It definitely looks European. But this front end, they really took some strong muscle car cues for this. Front engine, V8, rear-wheel drive. That's, of course, definitely checks all the boxes. But the way the hood rakes down, and they have this grill, big grill with the lights in the middle, and then, of course, the headlights on the outside here. Very, like, Shelby-esque Mustang. I like this a lot. This looks like a proper muscle car with a European flair. It's really cool, actually. An AMG Hammer. Oh, you know what? Why didn't I think of Mercedes? Of course, Mercedes are muscle cars. Those are German muscle cars, right? I mean, come on. They are. They're really cool. They have big V8s that just sound awesome. They usually sound like really deep and mean, although like kind of muted usually compared to like, some American muscle cars, but they're definitely muscular in my opinion. So yeah, honestly, I'd say it goes beyond this. There's a lot of Mercedes that are kind of, muscle car vibe at the very least. This thing is crazy though. This is a 5.6 liter M117 V8. And this thing did over 190 miles per hour. I mean, at that point, you're almost running into supercar territory. Most muscle cars aren't going that fast on the top end. And at number one, we have an ISO Grifo. I probably said that completely wrong. An ISO Grifo, maybe? I don't know. Never heard of it, never seen it. This definitely was a car we saw at the top, though, for the cover of this article. And actually, it looks pretty cool. I would say, again, it's almost on the edge of Grand Tourer, muscle car, but I mean, they're similar anyway. Of course, we have a small block 327 from GM in this. You could even get, let's see, an L71 427 or a 454. That's actually kind of crazy. You could also pair this with a ZF 5-speed transmission. So, of course, a manual and a big block V8. I mean, how are you not having fun in this vehicle? At a high top speed as well. This thing is awesome. When we're talking big blocks, in this kind of, it looks like a smaller car. Almost borderline, let's say, dangerous, but I bet this thing was hella fun. So this might be one of the funnest cars on this list. Well, that's it. Those are a peek at 10 arguably muscle cars coming out of Europe. Now, I would love to hear your opinion on this, and of course, just what are your thoughts on muscle cars in general? So here is the first post we will take a look at right away in the picture. If we actually search, because this isn't mentioned, if we search with Google Lens, it's a Cupra Leon. Leon? Or Leon, maybe? Specifically a 2021 model is indicated by the license plate. It's a hot hatch, 242 horsepower plug-in hybrid. That's kind of cool. See, I'm personally not a big fan of EVs, as in owning one. Like, I don't want to own an EV. They're just, there's too much differences and weird kind of anxiety I would have with owning one, not to mention infrastructure problems, at least near me. But hybrids, on the other hand, I feel like are a great option. Regardless, this thing is absolutely awesome. We've seen a Seat SUV, like a performance one, kind of like this, but obviously an SUV that was really, really cool. I think it was actually like considered a crossover. And, of course, being a car guy, the whole car guy community worldwide, everyone makes fun of crossovers, right? But it's definitely a crossover I would actually want. And this is no different. This is a sharp looking vehicle, right? Again, when it comes to hatchbacks, even, we do have those here, even still currently. But the ones we have left are very underwhelming. They're not good. Not many to choose from. Most of them kind of suck. I'd say the only decent ones you can even find would be, again, the go-to, right? Like a Volkswagen Golf or a Golf GTI, right? That's about it. Nothing that looks like this. This thing is extremely sharp, and I'm sure some people would agree or disagree, but I think this looks better than a GTI. It's just a little bit more my style. Of course, scrolling down, this is the top comment. And what is this exactly? A Renault 5? Okay, so Renault 5. Let's click on that. So it shows old versions and newer versions. Look at that. It's an electric car? Wow. Now, remember, I'm not a big electric car fan, but and part of it is they usually look weird. This one actually looks kind of cool. It looks like a normal car. That's why I was actually shocked when it said it was electric. This looks like it could easily just be a regular car with a, regular engine. So the fact that it is an EV and it looks regular, it's not like purposely made to look super weird that, that screams like weird EV look, right? This thing's pretty cool, actually. I suppose it does look kind of sporty. I suppose, being electric, it's probably got some pretty impressive numbers. And then, decent range and all that stuff as well. And people even saying in the comments about that Renault 5, I must say it's been a long time since a regular car caught my attention, to the point I keep staring every time I see one. I wasn't expecting that car to be a French electric Econobox. That's kind of impressive. I mean, it does look good through pictures, through like low resolution pictures, mind you, from my computer screen right now. It still looks impressive. I imagine in person this probably slaps. And you can see I have the same, and I gotta admit, I kind of want one. I'm in the US. I really want one. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of that here. I mean, that's what the whole theme is cars we're just missing out on. Now, of course, I would expect to see this here, and I always do get a little bit jealous. These old, pretty much any 80s or 90s Euro hot hatch is awesome. Now, of course, we had, at least back then we had a little bit, in this kind of game, we had some hatchbacks and some hot hatches even here stateside. Of course, maybe just a couple Euro offerings. Of course, we had some Japanese offerings as well that were awesome. I used to have an 89 Civic Si, so I know a thing or two about hot hatches, and yes, that ironically was the funnest car I've ever had. So knowing that, I can imagine that something like this would be an absolute joy to drive. I mean, this is right up my alley, right? It's got all the right looks about it. I mean, this is what, early 90s perhaps? I just love the look of these hot hatches, especially the European ones. I mean, come on, dude. This is the best era for driver's cars ever. May I mention about these cars too? Would you almost agree that like numbers don't even matter, right? Like, I want to have the keys to this and just drive it. And you know what? Almost purposely, I don't even want to know how much horsepower it has, how much torque it has, what's the 0 to 60 time, recorded on paper. I don't even want to know that stuff. You know why? Because on a car like this, it doesn't even matter. First of all, I've learned cars like this are usually faster than people might think. But second of all, they just drive so well. Cars from this era, especially hot hatches, They drive so well. They're so engaging and satisfying to drive in the simplest of measures that you don't care about the numbers. They're just the best. Overpriced, but you can't deny it looks cool AF. What do we have here? Is that the Peugeot logo? I believe it is, right? Of course, you guys, oh yeah, you guys can see it. Let's go here. Has a French plate. At least I think so. Yeah, this is cool. I will admit, I used to love this kind of cement gray color. Nardo gray, whatever it's called. I think it's called various things. I gotta admit, though, can we agree this is a little bit overdone now? It used to be like a rare color when it came out like, I don't know, what, 9 years ago or something. It started popping up more. And it was like, damn, that is a sharp color, right? Especially with black accents. But man, has it become so common that, you know, it's a little bit overdone now. It's lost its luster. I have to admit, though, just objectively, this does look sharp. It's not this car's fault necessarily. This is a sharp car, definitely. Sharp sedans. We were just talking about hatches, but sedans too, right? I've had some awesome sedans, and I think a lot of times in the car guy world, they're a little bit overlooked, right? People talk about hot hatches and then muscle cars and sports cars and supercars, but a good sedan is like one of the most entertaining and practical and joyous things to own, right? Having a good sedan that's also fun to drive, it's super practical. Only beaten out by a wagon, of course. But yes, this thing looks hella classy. I guess it's called a 508 PSE. People say that these are actually affordable. They look especially good in red. You know what? I'm going to have to look this up. All right, so let's go to images. And of course, it pulls up gray. Let's see some other colors. Of course, they make a wagon version. Looks incredible. I did not know about Peugeots that look like this. I always think of smaller cars, not big sedans and wagons. This is really good looking, actually. Wow. Yeah, we definitely don't have anything that looks like this in the US. It's very unique, kind of amazing in this day and age that they made something so unique. It's very odd when you see this front end and you almost see it. It's so different that you think, yeah, that's too different. It doesn't work. But in my opinion, it actually does work. This does work for me. I like it a lot. It is bizarre, but kind of bizarre in the best way, if that makes sense. It looks good in white, too. Wow. This thing is sharp. I feel like this is definitely one of those cars that hits above its weight in, like, cost to, like, looks. I'm assuming this is nowhere near as expensive as, like, a fully loaded Audi or BMW. But yet, at least to me, this looks really good, right? Like, this is a sharp car if you pull up and get out of this. Like, this is not a cheap-looking car to me. Pretty cool, actually. Again, I mean, it's very 2025, right? The interiors are looking almost, like, similar in a lot of cars nowadays, but, like, it still looks sharp, right? Electronic displays everywhere. You know, that kind of stuff is not my favorite. And that's just because I'm old school. I'm a weirdo. I like older cars, but, you know, kind of analog type things. But it definitely looks the part. And you know what's crazy is that seeing a new interior like this with one of these. It's just so, like, rare now. I mean, it's basically extinct here in the U.S. Seeing a modern, flashy interior with all the screens and then a stick shift right here, yeah, that doesn't happen here. And then, of course, people talking about, some people really like it, think it's stunning. Standard equipment is excellent. Of course, some people are saying, reliability problems, right? Like, definitely until the engine blows up. But then they're saying that this drivetrain in this isn't actually that bad. Maybe they're mixing it up with something else. They said the new 1.6 PureTech, I guess that's in this, is apparently quite good. They don't use like a wet belt, which I guess the 1.2 did. So I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe if you guys have driven one of these or perhaps you own one, tell us what it's like. I mean, this is a very sharp car. Of course, these are awesome, the A110, right? I mean, I've seen this before. These are super cool. Super, super cool. Smaller sports cars, again, that segment is almost extinct here as well. So seeing this, I can always appreciate that. I think it's awesome. Every smaller kind of sports car I've driven like, Mercedes SLA, Mercedes SLK, sorry. Chrysler Crossfire, basically the same car. I've driven an Alfa Romeo 4C before. Very, very fun cars, right? I've yet to drive a Miata. I don't know if I'd fit in one, but I would love to. But yeah, this is kind of reminds me of like those smaller sports car type vehicles, and this looks like it would be an absolute blast. My goodness, what is this? This was the next car in the lineup. I have no idea what it is. It's so blobby, like goofy looking and quirky that, of course, I want it. Now, of course, I'm sure these are a dime a dozen in most European countries. This is a wagon with a diesel, of course, made by Volkswagen. Now, we do have these in the U.S. It's just they're, of course, for some reason, ultra rare. Having just, any manufacturer, right? They kind of all make diesel wagons as far as I know in most of Europe. And here, yeah, you're more likely to see a Corvette. So, again, why? I'll never understand. But this is pretty cool, and I would love a daily driver, a wagon with a manual and a diesel. I feel like that is peak daily driving, right? That's got to be like the best car you can have for practicality, mileage, reliability. Yeah, the Panda, all of them, every gen, every year, don't care. I am hella jealous of this. These little four-wheel drive kind of, little monsters. I don't know what you would call these. They're awesome, right? I have a lot of them to learn about, too. The Fiat Panda I've learned a little bit about, and I freaking like it a lot. The old ones are awesome. I know there's quite a few other ones. I know a lot of Niva has been requested for like probably almost 2 years on my channel. I still have to learn about that. And I know I'm going to probably love that too. I've seen people take Škodas off-road and like all these different things, right? Like these are cool. I love these smaller kind of off-road-esque vehicles, these rugged little vehicles. Super cool. Not something we really have here at all. And I like it a lot. I want a Fiat Panda. This is super accurate here. The entire Škoda brand applies. Wish we had them here. I freaking love Škoda. I think they're super sharp, super interesting company, awesome cars. Yeah. The entire Škoda brand applies. It's actually pretty effed up how utterly dog shit the North American car market is. They get nothing interesting. So I will 95% agree. It is dog shit. It sucks, man. We miss out on so much. I wouldn't say we get nothing interesting. We get a couple interesting vehicles. But you're right. It's mostly nothing interesting. A lot of fascinating cars I learn about, I always find out, oh, it's in this market or that market. Not the U.S. Like, that's just a theme, That's just what you get used to hearing. We really do. We really do miss out on so much. It's very disheartening. This comment makes a lot of sense, too. For a country so dependent on cars, like the U.S., you would think the market would be incredibly diverse and have a lot of interesting options. I've actually mentioned that in a video before. Since we're so car-centric, right? You can make fun of it all you want, blame this, blame that, point out how, we're so car-dependent. So be it. But at least, why don't we have the best car selection on earth then, right? Since that's what we rely on. It's really annoying how we're very car-dependent, unlike a lot of other places. And we don't even have the best selection of cars either. Now, this is freaking cool. I've seen a little bit about this before. This is the Scirocco R. I think this was sold in most European countries. And quite frankly, I think this looks way better, like leagues better than the Golf. And not that the Golf is ugly. I think it's a great car. But, we get the Golf R, we get the GTI, but we don't get this at all. We don't get the Scirocco, nor do we get the Scirocco R. I think this is awesome. Again, why don't we get this, right? Of course not. They just got to dangle, that fruit in front of us. Look at what other guys get, right? We have this brand here. It's just you guys don't get this model, right? This happens a lot. Yeah, this thing is very sharp. I think for a Volkswagen, this is, at least in my opinion, for a smaller Volkswagen, this is one of the sharpest cars I've ever made. The design is awesome on this. Very flowing, very streamlined. The things I would do for Scirocco are stateside as an American VW owner. Yeah. Look at it in green, too. I mean, this thing is badass, man. I really mean it. This thing is awesome. Now, this is another one. Yeah, just the American way, right? They bring over finally a Euro hot hatch, and yeah, they only brought it over for a couple years, and they're already gone, right? We got the Focus ST for a little bit. We got the Focus RS for just like, what, 2 or 3 model years? That's it. They're already long gone. Meanwhile, in Europe, you still have a Focus ST. It's like a much newer one. I think, by the way, this looks awesome. It's holding up very well. And of course, a newer one like this, we don't get. So it's back to a forbidden fruit, and it's from Ford. You know, yeah, it's just hilarious to me that we don't get this. Then we have this thing, apparently. I have no idea what this is. It looks like the Renault logo on the wheels. Beyond that, I'm a little lost. I'm a little confused by this thing. Yeah, what is this? Is it a car? I think it is. Or is this a crossover? I think it's a car. Definitely gotta admit, this is a very weird shape. Not exactly the greatest thing I've ever seen. Although, there's something in me, right? There's something in a lot of, like, car guys, especially from the US, I guess. We miss out on so much that seeing this, even though it's not a particularly attractive car, it's just weird enough and, you know, so 1000% different than anything you'd see here that I kind of want one. This could be a terrible car, and I kind of don't care. I'd get one anyway. Even this, like Suzuki. We had Suzuki here, again, for only a few years, in like the early 2000s to like 2012 or something, and then they were gone. We get Suzuki motorcycles, of course, but that's it. We don't get any of their cars anymore, and I thought they quit, you know, again, American ignorance. I thought Suzuki was just like done with cars around the whole earth, but that I, of course, learned years later, like, oh no, they still make cars everywhere, just except here. So I don't know what this is. I don't know any of their model names, but I could tell you that I particularly think they're kind of attractive. They're cool, right? They're not like the coolest thing on earth, but they're not ugly. I think they look sharp for what they are, and I don't know how they are. I'm assuming like they're decent mechanically. I mean, could they be that bad? I would hope not. I think this is pretty cool. And again, another offering for a nice, affordable car that, well, we can't have here. And of course, I will have to admit, these are what I'm most jealous of. I don't know what it is. I mean, I do know what it is. I like cheap, kind of like basic cars. I don't know. There's something satisfying I find about it. And Dacia's, right? The Duster. Some people might be laughing right now. These might be so common. You'd think, why on earth would you want this? I do. I want one. I think these are super cool. I actually think it looks good. It has that basic kind of utilitarian look to it in a good way. It's what I like. I like this. And this is getting extinct here. You know, you could always find basic versions of cars here up until 10 years ago, and it started getting rare and more rare year by year. And now in 2025, 2026, there is almost no such thing as base models anymore, right? Everything's fully loaded, jazzed up, weird looking, futuristic. I like this. This looks like a modern car, but it also looks like a basic car of yesteryear at the same time. I think it's awesome. I think these are probably simple and reliable as long as you just take care of it. I like this. Why can't we have this? Why can't I have this in the U.S.? Really? Why? Of course, this has to be mentioned, right? All the Toyota pickups, right? I mean, we get the Tundra and the Tacoma, and they're all right. The newer ones are not good. The older ones are. But we've always missed out, man. We've missed out on Land Cruisers. We've missed out on the Toyota Hilux. You can see here, Europeans don't get the anti-aircraft gun option, but the Americans don't get the truck at all. And yeah, we just miss out on all of it, man. But this vehicle above it, I'm really interested in. This is a Citroen, apparently. A Citroen. I love it. I actually have to admit, I know it sounds funny because I've said this about every other car so far. This, if I could pick at least out of this episode, right here, I need to find out what this is. I'm going to do that in a second. I want this. And I mean it. I really want this. If I could grab one of these out of the screen and put it in my driveway right now, this would be it. I'm not joking. I am that guy. You could show me the next picture. It could be a Lamborghini. No, I want this. What is this? This thing is awesome. Okay, so a Google Lens, it's a C15 that was produced by Citroën from 84 to 2005. It was derived from the Visa and succeeded the Acadian. It was mainly available in diesel engines, of course. It also had a petrol PSA TU engine option. It had panel van options, of course, rear side window options, and then a rear pickup truck version. Okay, yeah. See, you can't be telling me that because it's going to make me want to find one of these and buy it. And then everyone's going to be mad at me. So if we look up the Citroën C15, yeah, this thing is awesome. I told you I love utilitarian, like weird vehicles, steelies. This thing's kind of lifted up. Yo, I really like this a lot. This thing is awesome. Yeah, this is dangerous. This is dangerous looking at this because I really got to find one of these now. Yeah, this. There it is. Oh my goodness. I love it. How freaking cool is that? It's like a mini truck. Oh, yeah. That is so cool. You know what? I would take the truck, although I have to admit, I think I actually do like it better in the van version. Yeah, I would take it in the van version. Yeah, because when I look at this looks even cooler. I don't know why. All right, so now we go to C15 for sale. Let's see if I can even find this. Remember, I'm looking up this from the U.S. Okay, so here we go. This is one random site, the parking-cars.com. I don't know how legit this is. I don't know much about buying cars in different countries, but I can tell you I'm a little excited because these things are cheap. Here's a couple for sale in Spain. And I don't know if this is showing U.S. dollars because I'm looking from the U.S. or if they're just, if this is another currency. I think it's converting it to dollars. That would be my guess. So if it is, I mean, this is cheap. $2,500, $2,300. I mean, we're talking. Now we're talking, baby. This is awesome, right? I can handle that. I got to see about this. How fun would it be if I imported one of these? Then some of them, though, are a little high. So this one is like some weird, almost museum piece. It's like a perfect shape. Apparently only has 3,000 miles, which doesn't even make sense. Like it was never driven then. And this one's 13 grand. So I'm not in the mood for that one. That's too much. But one of these kind of white ones, a little beat up, 2 grand from France. 150,000 miles, 1995. Of course, it is a manual and a diesel. Yeah, that's it. That is it, baby. Give me that. I will take that in a heartbeat. Yeah, I mean, look at this beauty, man. This thing is awesome. It's got a little rust. Not a fan of that. But you know what? We can deal with that. I mean, it is what it is, right? And there's only 2 pictures. So there you go. It doesn't get more legit than that. Here's one that was sold on Bring Your Trailer, actually in the U.S. This is from years ago. Let's see. I actually like this a lot. This one's in some weird brown color, which makes no sense, but I love it anyway. It looks awesome. It's one of the windowed versions. That's kind of cool. And it looks like a mid-90s. It's a 1.8 liter diesel inline 4 with a 5-speed manual. Absolutely perfect. This one's a low mile one, only 39,000 miles or 63,000 kilometers. I think that's pretty low if you ask me. It looks awesome. I don't know what about it. I like it a lot. It's so dorky. It has like a cool kind of high stance. Now we got to see how much this sold for. It sold actually 5 years ago. Oddly enough, it looks like it never finished. Maybe it had a reserve or something, although it says no reserve. So I don't know how much it sold for, but it looks like the bids were around $4,000 to $5,000 US dollars. I think that's pretty reasonable, and I guess I'll just have to keep my eye out for these, although I don't expect to see a lot of these for sale. It's not like it's a collector car or even, just a famous normal car that people still like. I mean, this is like a weird, cargo van that people probably beat up and just threw away. So I'm sure there's not like a bunch of people lined up to buy these. And then we'll end it with this one was just the coolest Fords ever sold. Now, Ford is a massive company, sold in, as far as I know, like seems like every country, just everywhere you can think of, right? course, I always think of Ford as American, but they're really a global brand. And of course, they may be based here, but they're pretty impressive at how they kind of do make different cars for different markets. And for example, Fords you could buy brand new in Germany. Fords you could buy brand new in the UK. They're going to be a lot different than the Fords you can buy over here in the U.S. And I think that's probably good on Ford that they do that. They don't just try and bring all the weird cars that we have and try and dump them everywhere else and expect them to sell the same. They actually study their market and build cars accordingly, and I think that's pretty smart, at least from what I see. So these are kind of cool. These look a little bit like a Ford Fusion, which would be like a midsize sedan here. Although I don't know what it is. If it just things from different places that you don't have always look better. I don't know if that's like a trick in your head or not. I feel like these actually look a little bit different, very subtly, and I think they actually have a better stance. They look a little better than the Fusions for some reason. Of course, Australia, by the way, like the Australia, New Zealand, like way down there, they have awesome Fords, right? A lot of V6 and V8s, a lot of rear-wheel drives, a lot of manuals. I think that's awesome. We didn't get nearly anything like that except the Mustang. Of course, we got the big boats like the Crown Victoria and the Grand Marquis, but they, didn't come in manuals. Look at this. AU Falcons. I freaking love it. A prophetic original Ford Fusion. What? What is this? We didn't get anything like this. It's like a crossover kind of. Again, kind of a dorky car, but I can rock with it. If it's a manual and it's a diesel, I'd take it. Of course, back years ago, you had the Focus RS way before we had it, and this was the Mark II, I believe. I remember seeing this on Top Gear a long time ago, and I was amazed because, remember, we didn't have anything like this. So seeing a Ford Focus sliding around tracks, like burning rubber and just, accelerating extremely fast, it seems so foreign. That was the first time I realized that other countries get a lot different versions of cars that we don't have here. I was like, at that time, in 2010, let's say, the Ford Focus was a very boring car here, right? Nothing special at all. And then, meanwhile, you look at a Ford Focus RS from the UK and look what it looks like. It's awesome. It's fast. Cross-platform development with Volvo, Ford, Mazda. I mean, this thing is awesome. Of course, you have the OG Escorts, the Ford Ka. I've seen that's like a really small car. I think it's awesome and just funny, right? The Ford Puma. That's interesting. I don't know about this at all, but it's definitely not one we got. Of course, you have Diesel Focus. We've never had a Diesel Focus ever. I've never even heard of that. So there you go. A brown color that we didn't get. Diesel, manual. You get it. Yeah. You guys have so much more choices. I got to see this. And see, so we got this body style. Wow. There's so much going on here. We got this body style of Focus here. I don't know what gen, right? I'm not a Focus expert. But this gen, right? You can see the taillights, the headlights. We got this body style here, but it only came in a hatchback or a sedan. We never got a wagon. This looks like a wagon to me. First of all, this actually looks surprisingly good in a wagon. Second of all, this brown color looks surprisingly good. I like it a lot. We never got that here. They were very rare in manuals, and you certainly could never get a manual diesel. That never existed here. So right here, just a regular old Focus diesel wagon manual that you might see everywhere in certain countries, you literally would never see here. And that's the point of this video, is that it's so fun learning about cars. And, there's a lot of people that probably didn't have a lot of cars maybe I've seen, and they, miss out on them, and they think, man, I wish I could see this or that. So I guess, to a degree, this can affect all of us when you kind of look outside and see forbidden cars that you never got in your market. But let's start the list. Go ahead and go here. You see the first vehicle. This is the Peel P50. Now, this is absolutely hilarious. I need y'all to really tell me straight up. This right here, this was a street legal vehicle. Is that correct? Years ago, I bought a used, literally, golf cart for some property management, right? We have a big yard, and, it's useful. It has a little, pickup truck bed on the back. And that golf cart, is not street legal where I'm at. Because, of course, it's not a car. It's not a vehicle. It literally has bigger wheels and more robust, frame and components than this thing, right? This thing is hilarious. It's adorable. It's a joke. In the land of literal, Tonka trucks and land yachts, yeah, this is hilarious to me. But I wonder what this is like. I'm pretty sure I would not fit in this. My only even reference to this, like the only time I would have ever seen this, is definitely not in person. But I remember seeing this, I believe, on a Top Gear episode back in the day. And if I remember right, wasn't Jeremy Clarkson literally driving this in a building, like in an office building? Yeah, that's how small this is. I think it's actually hilarious. I think it's wild. And I don't know how it's legal because if you get hit by someone that's not paying attention, how does that go? I like how it mentions that the marketing back when it came out in 1962 claimed that it was big enough for one adult and a shopping bag. So there you go. If you're going somewhere, you want to go shopping, you're only going to get one bag of stuff. There's your vehicle. It doesn't get better than the Peel P50. And real quick before we move on, it actually came from a German company, DKW. I didn't actually know that. I thought it was like a British car. It actually says it was like a British car, but it's maybe from a German company. Who knows? You guys can sort that out. But that's pretty cool. I'm going to look up and see how much these are even worth. Look at that thing. Oh, my goodness. This is hilarious. I'll take you to this view. Wow. Look, someone has one in the USA. I can't believe it. They are braver than I. There is one in Illinois, where I'm at. Trident, blue and white. Oh my goodness. Is this a fucking convertible? This is ridiculous. They're everywhere. Qatar, California, Canberra, Australia. Of course, the UK. Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, look at them. They're literally driving these in hallways. Look at this. You can buy a new one. And it's $10,000. No freaking way. That is literally more than I spent on a golf cart. But I guess this would... can someone make sense of this? I gotta say it. How is this street legal, but my golf cart isn't? I mean, I guess this has got mirrors. It's got a windshield wiper. It's got lights. I guess this is safer and more legit. It's even got a VIN number. How cute. $10,000. That is absolutely legendary. Wow. That is just hilarious. This is a self-build kit. So how interesting that these came out a long time ago. And apparently, you can probably find old used ones from the 60s and 70s or whatever. Or you can literally just buy a new one. And it's a kit you have to put together. That is actually so fascinating. Kind of hilarious, too. A little more expensive than I would like. I was hoping if this was $2 or $3 grand, maybe I'll buy one. Maybe I'll buy one for a video. That would be amazing. But I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not rolling in it like that. I can't just drop a 10 grand on that thing, on a Peel P50. That is hilarious. All right, moving on. I'm sorry we spent so much time on that, but what a fascinating vehicle. I mean, this combined with an American. What do you expect? All right, we have a Morgan Plus 8. Now, I actually like this thing. I don't know much about it, but I'm saying my first impression is I like this, at least this is a homage to a previous era in design, right? These swooping fenders like that. These cars just flowed and looked like they were, kind of pushing the air around them even as they were sitting still. That's what I like about this. So this is really cool. This one shown in the picture is apparently in 1970. I don't know what years these were made up until, but if it's from the 60s or 70s, of course it would be able to be imported here because it's more than old enough. This mentions they're referring to the original version. There is newer versions, apparently, even up to 2018, but those wouldn't be legal here because I'm very sure they don't sell these here new. Sadly, another car I feel like I probably would not fit in. For reference, I don't know how tall I am in meters or centimeters, so bear with me. In, American units, I am 6 feet, let's say 6 feet 4 inches. I think I'm 6'3", but with shoes, if I'm outside, maybe 6 foot 4 inches, right? So I'm pretty tall, and I feel like this car would be very tight, unfortunately. I feel like my head would be above the windscreen, and well, what good is that? Next, we have this. Now, I can totally vibe with this. I love hot hatches. I wish they were bigger here in the U.S. Bigger as in, like, more popular. We had some eras with hot hatches, just never even scratched the surface in popularity when it, compared to what y'all had in Europe, the car scene. So, yeah, this is a Renault Clio Williams. Now, is this Williams referring to, like, the racing Williams? Yeah, despite its Formula One inspired name. Okay, that's really cool. Sadly, the Williams team was not involved with the car's development, according to this. I thought maybe they had collabed with the Clio here, but apparently not. It was just inspired by them. That's okay. It looks sharp, right? It's really small, but not small in a bad way. Like, it's not like the first two cars. This is still a hot hatch, decent size. It's just, you know what I mean? It's a smaller, nimble car. I like it. I like this color scheme, actually. This very handsome shade of blue with some gold wheels. It's got a good stance. I love it. Peak, 90s hot hatch. I know this thing's got to be in a manual for sure. Probably a little 4-cylinder, right? Yeah, 2-liter, 16-valve, inline-4, 145 horsepower. Probably got, good suspension. 0-60 in 7.5 seconds. That's really good, actually. This is a light vehicle, I'm assuming. And so it handles good. You can zip around in this, and it's just going to feel, it's going to have great steering. It's going to have, hopefully a nice clutch and nice gearing. This is going to be a blast to drive. I'm all about this. All right, I'm going to look this car up for sale. So let's go back to this screen. Here's one. I'm bringing a trailer, which I'm assuming was sold in the U.S. or Canada. And there we have it. This thing looks sharp. Absolutely sharp. But look at how much, though. 1995 Renault Clio Williams S2. Same color scheme. Absolutely love it. Sold for $11,300 US. Wow, it's a little steeper than I would have thought. But you know what? Not a bad deal, honestly. Wow. Sometimes I think, because I have multiple vehicles, I'm a car guy, right? Us car guys fall into this sometimes. Sometimes I do throw the idea around, just selling a bunch of vehicles and getting something like this. Thoughts? That would be so freaking cool. It'd be so cool for me, for my experience. It'd be so cool for the channel. It'd be so cool to be driving around in this, and 98% of Americans would have no idea what this is. They'd think it was like a debadged Honda Civic or something. Come on, let's get real, right? This thing is awesome. I love the interior too. Very simple. Kind of like that Skoda I drove, although this is a little newer. Yeah, I like it. Obviously, with any of these, let me know your thoughts and your comments. If you've gotten to drive one of these, you remember these, maybe you own or owned one of these, that would be really exciting. I would love to hear about it. Here we have the Fiat Coupe. Fiat is something that's so interesting because now we have Fiats for the last about 10 years, maybe a little more, in the U.S. after not having them for a long time. But we only get a couple models, right? And what I've learned is Fiat makes tons and tons of different vehicles, and we just don't get most of them here in the U.S. So it's like we have Fiat, but we really don't, if that makes sense, right? Because the U.S. car market's so weird and so limited. This, I've never seen in my life. Pretty sure we didn't get these. This is the Fiat Coupe debuted in 1993 at the Bologna, is that Bologna? Motor Show, and remained in production until 2000. That's awesome. We can actually import 2001 vehicles from anywhere. So specifically, a little challenge for the comments. Name an amazing import, a fun car that an American could import from 2001. And it could be from anywhere, from, Asian countries, Europe, wherever, right? That would be interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. My first impressions, I like this. This is cool. You can tell it's 90s, but it's like Euro 90s. And I love it, man. Like the only thing I can even think of that was similar to this, not similar, but like distant vibe, is like we had a Mercury Cougar around this time. There was older ones that looked more like kind of like a Mustang and more boxy. And then by the late 90s or early 2000s, we had a Mercury Cougar that sort of was this shape, right? But not the same. Don't get mad at me. They're not the same at all. This looks arguably a little better. It actually looks a little more weird, but I like it better. That's what I meant to say. I mean, this is cool. These actually came in turbocharged versions. So I'm thinking this with a turbocharged engine and a manual transmission. I'm assuming this is front wheel drive. That's a pretty fun car, right? That's a really, really fun car. I would love to hear from anyone that's had these before. Yeah, here's some for sale. Now, these are in different countries. This is in Sydney, Australia. Not sold. Okay. Birmingham, Great Britain. 35,000 miles? That's low. Holy smokes. This sold for 11,000 pounds, or I'm assuming this is US dollars, 14,821 US dollars. Wow, that's really cool. Here's one that sold in Stockholm for about 12,000 US dollars. Really, really cool. So again, that's kind of the sweet spot. Basically, if I have like, let's say 9 to like 13 grand, I can buy a pretty fun, smaller, sporty European car from a different country, literally, like imported. I like that. I will keep that in mind. Here, this one actually went for a lot less. I wonder why some of these went for less. Like this one only went for 5,000 pounds, this red one. But a lot of these other ones went for more. Then again, the silver one from Italy went for 1,900. Okay, $2,000, 1,900 euros. Okay. Is there a reason this would be so cheap? If it's just because of the mileage, that doesn't scare me. I've had plenty of high mile cars. Now we're talking. Anyone have any advice on how to import things, how much that costs, and how to do it safely in the correct way? I'm all ears. I would be interested in this. I would totally do that. Let's go. Let's keep the views up. I can maybe pull this off. I got to find something fun like this. That would be amazing. Perhaps someday we'll do a live stream where we look at cars and we can talk about how we can do this. All right. I like the Fiat Coupe. I like it a lot. I think I could fit in it. I don't think that would be a big deal. Wow. I like this even better. Is this a sister car? God, it's got a really similar line there on the side, doesn't it? You'll have to let me know if this is a sister car or if it's just a competitor that, they look similar. I don't remember, or know if Fiat and Alfa Romeo, I guess they are kind of partnered, right? Or Alfa Romeo is part of Fiat. If they are, then these could totally be sister cars. And while I like the Fiat, I got to admit, this looks even better for me. Maybe not to some people. I like the wheels. I've always liked the Alfa Romeo, how they kind of do that triangular grille with their awesome logo. And then like the kind of small circular headlights. I think it's a unique look. It's not for everyone, maybe, but I like it. This looks like a lot of fun. This one was able to come with a V6. Now, this car and a V6, I'm actually, dare I say, I think a naturally aspirated V6 can sometimes feel more powerful, or at least feel more torquey, and be more pleasant to drive than even a turbocharged 4. I know turbo 4s can end up making more power and all that, but V6s just have like a grunt to them. And a V6, even a small displacement V6 in a smaller, lighter vehicle, in my experience, is extremely fun to drive. Very engaging. And it's still a V6, even if it's small. It pulls a car quite well. I like this a lot. Now moving on to the TVR Cerbera. Wow. We've looked at a TVR long ago, and I never got to follow up on it, which is what I have to change. We got to go hard on actually bringing episodes back where we deep dive into certain vehicles, or certain brands, right? TVR just looks incredible. I don't know much about them. I think they were a British brand, and it looks like they just had these beautiful, really wild and different designs And from what I understand from you guys, they slapped some high horsepower in there. And, these things were kind of like over here what the Viper would have been. Like lots of power, big engines, no, nanny controls, right? No 3-stage traction controls, the stability controls. Like, nope, it's just you, the engine, and the wheels. Good luck. And you know what? I respect that. This would be a lot of fun. This was from 96 to 2006. There are 5 model years worth eligible for import here. Okay, yada, yada. Power came from the Speed 8 V8, which was available in 3 variants, 4.2, 4.5, and 4.7 liter versions. Wow, that's very interesting. 3 V8s. Now that's weird. I would never see that in a car market over here. Why 3 different V8s? Very interesting. Let's look these up. I love it. I know I would like this. I mean, who wouldn't, right? I feel like this might be out of my price range, though. We're talking over 400 horsepower, by the way. This was sold on Bring a Trailer. Let's see. So some of these sold in the U.S. That's cool to see. And these are definitely out of my price range. Dang it. There's a red one. Okay, that is a... I don't know what y'all's thoughts on TVRs are. This is a 4.2, so this is the smallest engine. I don't know if that even matters. I mean, I'm assuming they're all pretty good. Yeah, I think this car is sexy. I do. I like this a lot. Look at that car, man. Whoa! What is with that interior? Okay, this is from 1997? Okay, this is awesome. What the hell's going on with the steering wheel? Are there gauges on the steering wheel? I don't know what's going on. This is so freaking cool. 220 mile per hour speedometer. Is that all? And an 8,000 RPM tachometer. What is this thing? What kind of screaming machine is this? Wow, British cars I've noticed can be very pleasantly surprising. Very shocking. Where you're like, okay, y'all know what's up. I like the almost clamshell hood. You get a lot of access here. Although it's a very kind of odd engine bay, right? What's this red part in between the engine and the fans? I don't know. This is cool, man. I like it. I like it a lot. Look at it in the mags. Wow, what a vehicle. Take a look at this thing. Right? Wow. What a car. That would turn so many heads. I think most Americans would think this is probably a kit car, which you don't even see those often. But anything that's weird is usually a kit car. One of those weird cars from small companies that you can order and you got to put together in your garage or whatever. All right, moving on. I absolutely love that. We have a Renault Clio RS 172. So many different Renaults, and I know just nothing about them because Americans don't know, right? We don't get these. But I feel like they've probably made so many fun and iconic hot hatches, smaller vehicles. Now, I believe RS is, that means business, right? That's the trim level. It says Renault Sport. So if it's an RS model, that means it is definitely the sporty one. The 172 comes from the power output. Okay. 172 PS. I don't even know what that is, or 170 horsepower. Now, this is another 2-liter, 16-valve inline 4, 5-speed manual gearbox. An absolutely tried and true combination. Can't go wrong with the 2-liter and a 5-speed, right? Especially in a light car. This thing's going to be zippy. It's going to be fun to rev. And I would be all about this. You know what's cool is, we're talking about older vehicles. This is a 2000, right? That's, I hate to admit it because I feel like 2000 was like yesterday. But that's old, right? That's 26 years old. And these things are hot hatches, and they're, we're talking about the late 90s here. And these things had, the custom upholstered interiors, the logos. They had leather and Alcantara, like side airbags. These are things I hate to admit, but I feel like the U.S. wasn't getting fancy interiors like that unless you were getting expensive, bigger vehicles. And we're talking more towards like 2008, 2007, not like 99, 98. Like that was more extremely rare, maybe even unheard of back then. I don't remember ever seeing like a small hatch in the U.S. that having such a, high quality materials in them. I think, again, that's really cool. You look at like a Dodge Neon, I guess is what I'm saying, and you look at this. This is it brings more to the table. Now, this is fascinating. I'm thinking, wait, this is just a Jetta because we had this body style Jetta in the U.S., but it's not. It's a Volkswagen Bora VR5. So I'm all confused because Bora, what the hell is that? But it says the Bora was equivalent of the Jetta in the U.S. So it was called the Jetta here. Again, I don't know why companies do that. They all do it. It's not like, singling out VW. They all do it. I wonder why it was called the Jetta here. But yeah, I've always liked Jettas. I thought they're pretty cool. I've came so close to buying Jettas at multiple points in my life. I just never have. I've wanted to, though. And we're talking about probably U.S. spec Jettas. But I think they're a great, fun kind of, blend of everything, daily driver type of car. This one's a little more than that, though. This one has a 2.3-liter narrow angle 5-cylinder. So I'm thinking VR5. In my head, I'm like, I don't know what that is. I know what the VR6 is. That's a legendary engine. Very cool concept, right? And very sought after. They're hard to find, at least here in the States. I'll be honest, I've never heard of a VR5. So how's that even work? Because that's an odd number of cylinders, but it's in a V. Now it's a narrow V, but it's still a V. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't know there was a VR5. I knew there was a VR6. And like it says, we definitely did not get a Jetta with the VR5 here. So this looks actually like it's really cool. Just out of curiosity, let's see if, I can even find anything on this. So I don't know if there's any sales of these. Yeah, just as I suspected, I'm not even seeing any of these for sale. It's gonna it's pulling up. It's pulling up Volkswagen Jettas for sale in, Illinois and Wisconsin and stuff. It's not even pulling up the correct thing. That is absolutely hilarious. Wow. All right, and then moving on, we have the Opel Speedster. Now, this thing is cool. Let's see. Opel was, in the UK, it was the Vauxhall VX220. Everyone else in Europe, it was the Opel Speedster. It arrived in 2000, had joint development with the second generation of Lotus Elise. Wow, because I've heard of the Lotus Elise, and we got those in the States. But this, I don't believe we did, right? I feel like I've seen this maybe in like a video game back in the day, but I don't remember ever seeing this on the streets here. It's pretty cool looking. It looks really small, kind of like a Miata. Don't know if I'd fit in it correctly, but I'd be open to trying. Now, what's interesting is the Speedster used a 2.2 Ecotec engine borrowed from the Opel Vauxhall Astra. Fun fact, I still have it. I don't drive it much lately, but in some of my videos, I've done IRL videos, and I showed me driving a manual transmission because it's rare here, but I'm a proud American that does drive them, and most Americans can't. I have a manual transmission small SUV called a Saturn Vue that was actually shared a lot of stuff with German Opel. Actually, by that time, Saturn and Buick were like rebadged Opels essentially for GM. It uses a German, manual transmission, for example. And the engine is literally this. It is literally the 2.2 Ecotec. That is the same engine I have in my 2004 Saturn Vue SUV. So that is pretty interesting. I actually like that engine. I think it revs nice. I think it sounds good. And I feel like it would pull a lot harder than it does in mine in a car like this. Whoa, now we're getting into some serious toys. A Noble M12. This thing looks fast. Wow, this is another British sports car. Damn, British sports cars are the real deal. This went into production in 2000. It looks newer than that, so that's pretty impressive. It had an American element in the form of its engine. It had a Ford Duratec V6. Now, how fascinating is this? I would have thought for sure this was like a V8, but that's kind of cool. A Duratec V6, and those can be modded quite well. People do that even here with some models that came with that. So this is limited availability. It wasn't really sold here. I guess there was a different version, like a sister car to this called the Roscion Q1 that was sold here, but this was not. But now you can import them because they're old enough. That's really interesting. I'll look at the price. I know I can't afford this, guys. So let's laugh. Let's see the first one. Here we go. 52 grand. Wow. Yeah, that's expensive. I got to say, though, this might be not the exact same model, but it's close enough. I mean, this thing is really freaking cool. It's a twin turbo V6 in this one. Wow. That car just screams fun. you know this thing would be amazing to toss around corners and to just stab the throttle. You know, this thing's going to hook and just put you in your seat, right? I mean, this is a light vehicle. Wow, that looks like a lot of fun. Let's jump right into it. Number 1, the Tushek Renovatio T500. Starting it off with something very obscure. Yeah, I'll be honest, never heard of this. 2012, Slovenian racing driver Alhoa, let's go with Alhoa, Tushek, formed his self-named company out of a former military airport where he also built a test track. You know, it's so interesting how many fascinating things have been formed at like airports but it's, you know, that don't have to do with planes, right? That don't have to do with aircraft, because I guess like an airport would be awesome to have, right? It's so much like a land, and it's really like nice and flat, and you can do a lot with it. And you got hangars and runways. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Having an airport as a test grounds for a vehicle, a high-performance vehicle, would be a freaking dream, dude. Anyway, he had bought a K1 attack kit car and planned to sell upgraded versions of the vehicle. That didn't scratch his itch. As I'm scratching an itch, by the way, that is hilarious. So the Renovatio was born weighing 2,400 pounds and some ounces. That is extremely light. It is an Audi RS4 V8 engine. Okay, an Audi V8 in this light exotic vehicle. That sounds like a ton of fun. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.7 seconds. Of course, that is extremely fast. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. Really light. I'm sure it handles really well. It's, you know, very tossable, and the acceleration is extremely fast. He plans on building more, a 950 horse TS 900. That sounds insane. You know, have we almost reached a point where cars are just ridiculous? And I mean that in a good way, but how much faster can we really get here, right? I mean, 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds is phenomenal. That is really fast. I don't think some people understand how fast that is. That is fast. That should be rare, and it was. Like, if we go back to the 90s, yeah, what was going 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds? Like, basically nothing. Maybe a couple cars on Earth. But now, you know, sub 4 second 0 to 60s is like almost common, dare I say? Like, there's so many cars that will do that. It's messed up, honestly. But yeah, let's check out some pics of this thing. You can see here. Let me get you a view. There we go. Yeah, this thing is awesome. Only 3 pictures. Whoa. I mean, this thing is one of those where it's like, first of all, I bet this is not legal in the U.S. because, you know, good old freedom U.S., we actually miss out on a lot of cars. There's too much regulation when it comes to vehicles. As an automotive enthusiast, you know, we can't stand it over here because we miss out on so much. But I'm sure this is legal in Europe, of course, like in every country. Yeah, that thing is awesome. It looks interesting. You know what? I'm almost getting, I'm getting hints of one of my favorite Ferraris ever was like the 430 Scuderia, right? Or even just the F430. And, you know, I could kind of see similar taillight shapes. And then, you know, if we're talking about the Scud, right, it had the exhaust coming out the bumper like this. I kind of see that, a little bit of influence from that, which is cool, right? So I like that element of the car. I'll be honest, though, it's a little underwhelming. Like, yeah, would I love to drive this? Of course I would, right? I'm not talking smack. This is a cool car. I do like the gold wing doors, you know, that's pretty exotic, but I don't know. It's a little bit like a video gamey, right? It's not, maybe it's because it's in white. Maybe this would look good in different colors. Let me look that up. So let's just do search Google, and we want images, right? I mean, this is a Slovenian car. That's cool, right? I didn't know Slovenia made any exotic cars, and yet here we are. So this thing is cool. I will say it looks a little better from the front. We've only seen it from like the rear 3/4 angles. But I appreciate it. I like it. I'm not talking smack. I think it's cool that Slovenia can say that this exotic car came from there. I like it a lot. I'm just saying for fun, you know, if we're judging each car, first impressions, it's not my favorite looking car. I see some of the subtle inspirations. I like it. Unfortunately, some cars give off that kit car kind of vibe. Some kit cars look awesome. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's more of just like, it just falls a little short. Moving on to number 2, we have the Mini Moke. And the Mini Moke was originally developed as a prototype for military use by the original creators of the Mini. Okay, So this was a lightweight, roofless design car with low ground clearance and small wheels. What the hell? You know what? I almost feel like I've heard of this name. I don't know even where I would have heard that, but I'm not recognizing it down here. This is hilarious. I like how there's, girls posing on it as if it was like a hot rod or something, but it's a mini moke. This thing is awesome. It's obviously dorky. It's not a super slick, piercing looking vehicle, but you know what? It's utilitarian. It almost looks like a golf cart to me, like a little oversized golf cart or something. I mean, this woman pictured here really looks like she likes it a lot. Yeah, this is funny. This is one of those ones where it'd be like a novelty to drive, and this will turn heads. Maybe not in Europe. I don't know how common these are, but if you brought this to the U.S., and you went to a car show or a Cars and Coffee, and this would gather a swarm of people, probably more than an exotic car. You know what? I actually like it better with that canvas top on there. This thing is freaking hilarious. Again, I don't even know how this was street legal. I'm not arguing. I like that it was. It's hilarious. It's like literally just a little bucket with wheels and an engine. I mean, could you get any more basic and utilitarian than this? This might win for the most basic car on earth. For sale USA. Let's see what these are going for. And bring a trailer. Holy crap. These are going for a lot of money. I'm sorry, but no offense. Why? Some of these are electric. Look at this. 2022. What? Moke America? They make these in the U.S.? Or not make them in the U.S. They sell them here. I doubt they make them here. But you know what I meant. This is crazy. Wow. It's so interesting. What is this thing? The Cuval or Cuvale? How do you pronounce that? I'm going to go with Cuvale. Mangusta. Alejandro de Tomaso, father of the Pantera. Now, I've definitely heard of that. Needed a business partner for a car called the Bigua. In 1996, he went to an American car importer called Cuvale. Really? Who dealt with American imports of Panteras and Maserati vehicles. The idea was to create an Italian TVR. Now, that sounds fun. On paper, it sounded amazing. It was designed by a Formula One designer. It had the 4.6 liter supplied by Ford. That's awesome because they use that in, some trucks, but they use it, of course, in the Ford Crown Victoria, the Mercury Grand Marquis. I love those. And, of course, the Mustang as well. So this was like some modern, like the De Tomaso Pantera was like the 70s, right? This was like some newer European, like I said, like an Italian TVR with like an American heart, right? It was launched in 1999. So I'm assuming these are rather rare, and it sounds like these were sold maybe in the U.S. as well, but they're definitely like a European car. Very interesting design on this guy here, right? I don't know if I like it. Okay, I kind of do. The rear quarters shot here is cool. It's got some interesting taillights going on. They're like smoked. I'll be honest, the proportions are a little weird, but because it's got a V8, this thing is probably, this thing's like a pocket rocket, right? I mean, look at that interior too. It is like a European interior, so it's actually really nice inside. I don't know. This car is almost so weird that it works. I kind of like it. I feel like it looks small, but I mean, you have a 4.6 liter V8, which is it's powerful. It sounds good. They're actually really reliable, super easy to maintain. So like, this is kind of a good car. I guess let's just go straight to Bring a Trailer. It's the easiest to see what these are going for. Okay, so these go for quite a range here. I don't know why this is there. That made the price look really weird there. So these are all around like the $20,000 to $30,000 US dollar range, which I suppose is pretty fair. I mean, let's click on this one. This one's low mile, and it went for $24,000. I feel like that's kind of a good deal. Having this in the US would be, I've never seen one of these in my life, so it would be very unique. It would definitely turn heads. Look at this. Now, what's funny is it's got in my opinion, like kind of a European interior. You got the leather, you got the tan or cream colors in there. I think it's cool. I love that it's a manual, 100%. That is like the best thing ever. But this almost looks like a Ford instrument cluster, which is hilarious. I feel like I'm looking at a Mustang when I'm looking at that. And then, of course, looking at that power plant, which is beautiful. 320 horsepower, 314 foot-pounds of torque, and had a Borg-Warner T45 5-speed manual. I'm kind of liking this more and more. It's weird. But you know what? Having this, I will kind of admit this, having this would probably be more exciting than a 2000 Mustang. So this is cool. Then we had the MG X-Power SV. What the heck? This thing is awesome. First impressions, I love it, right? This one's also kind of bizarre, but the kind of bizarre I like, right? I like it a lot, actually. Proportions are awesome on this. Kind of got a longer front end and then, you know, really snug towards the rear of the vehicle. You know, this had an F1 exterior designer help out with this. And this was exclusively sold in the European and Asian markets. Only one of them somehow were sold new in the U.S. I don't even know how that works because we've never had MGs here. So, yeah, that's beyond my pay grade there. But this is pretty freaking cool. Let's take a look at these first pictures. Yeah, I like this thing a lot. I know, you know, really nothing about MG because as far as I know, at least in the modern era, you know, 80s to now, we've never had MGs here. So we miss out on all those. I've never even heard of this. You know, the interior is very cool. It's very, you know, race car or like, you know, sports car like. I will admit, to me, remember, this might be common knowledge to Europeans, but to me, you know, I've never seen one. So I like it, but it almost looks like it's something out of a video game, right? Like someone took a screenshot from, you know, Grand Theft Auto or something. I hope that doesn't come across wrong, but that's what I think of. It's very different. Let's go ahead and search Google for this as well. I mean, this one's really rare, so I think a lot more, you know, some of these were rare too, but maybe not as extreme low production as this. These aren't coming through Bring a Trailer. Go figure, right? I wonder if it shows any of these sold. Yeah, these still retain a good amount of value, it looks like. You know, we have a couple sold here. Look at this one. Whoa. Gee, it looks pretty mean in black. I mean, a lot of cars do, typically. But this thing looks awesome, actually. I have a feeling this vehicle would be a lot of fun to drive. I think we can all agree on that. And it seems to go for around 40,000 euros up to 69,000 euros. But, you know, a lot of these are like this one is 38,000 pounds. I feel like that's not terrible. You know, I mean, it is an almost 20-year-old vehicle, granted. So it is like you could call it like a mild collector car. You know, it's not worth hundreds of thousands, but it's definitely creeping up there, it looks like. And funnily enough, the only one in this list that was sold in the USA was sold in Illinois. Go figure. I guess I'll keep an eye out on the streets out there. Next up, we have the Mazzanti Aventra. Whoa, this is kind of cool. These are all like really rare, kind of low, like obscure companies, sort of kit cars, like low production vehicles. So that's kind of interesting other than a mini moke. But yeah, this thing is powered by a Chevy LS. I mean, who can argue with that? I think even Europeans agree that's great motors. They scream. They're extremely easy to build and swap into anything. They're reliable. This thing is freaking quick. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. And a top speed of over 217 miles per hour. That is insane. It actually has both road and track versions available. It's almost 800 horsepower. Again, though, it's kind of like the Slovenian one. I don't know why I almost get the same vibe from this car. It looks cool. Something about it, it looks too short, right? I guess with exotic-looking designs, they kind of work better when they're just a little elongated. This thing's like too compact. But maybe that's what they're going for, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you. Seeing this shot of the doors are like really weird. They open backwards. Yeah, the doors open backwards. The door opening is extremely small. Yeah, your boy here, I'm not fitting in this at all. That would be content right there. America tries to get into the Mazzanti, whatever, Mazzanti Avantra. Yeah, that ain't happening. That is actually hilarious. The Low-Tech Sirius is next. Again, I've never heard of it. This is a German company. They've done race cars before, worked on body panels for Porsches. Then they just decided to do their own production supercar called the Sirius. This had the same Mercedes-Benz V12 that the Pagani Zonda had. And yeah, you're over 1,000 horsepower at that point. That is pretty cool. What do you take, a Zonda or this, right? What's more dialed in? I like this. The proportions are a little bit better than some of the other cars we saw. That engine is magnificent. What a work of art. I like this. I like this more than almost everything I've seen on the list. This looks like a Hot Wheels. The proportions are awesome on this thing. It's got so much glass. I don't even see an A-pillar, so I don't even know how this works. The roof is like a floating disc. The rear of the vehicle is stunning. This thing is awesome, actually. I actually really like this. That's where I'm going with this. I like it. For some reason, it's low slung. It's really wide, and it just looks like a beast. And the fact that this thing is 1,000 horsepower, I'm actually a little bit scared of this thing. Then we go down to the Daimler 66. Now, I'm really confused because this looks like a Jag to me. I'm no Jaguar expert, but it looks exactly like a Jaguar. So let's see what this is about. It was essentially a rebadged Jaguar with a better finish. Okay, it was like an upgrade of the famous XJ12 Coupe and sedan, available from 93 to 97. Wow, so this is bizarre. This is one of those where it's like, I have a car you've never heard of, and they think, I've seen Jags before. And then you're like, look at the badge. This is hilarious. This is cool. I know nothing about it, and I'm willing to bet some of you watching didn't either. Now, finally, this might be the first car I've actually heard of. We have the Renault 5 Turbo, and I have heard of this because basically of this channel, and through you guys, you teach me a lot. And, we have been into rally now for a couple years because of this channel, because you guys have taught me so much. I absolutely love Group B and the 90s, Group A, and everything since, rally racing is just insane. I love it. It's the best. And this reminds me of rally, right? Because if we scroll down, look at that. This thing is awesome, right? It's got the wide body kit. It's a hot hatch, but it's extremely aggressive looking. I freaking love this thing. I don't even need to read about it because I've heard of it. I've seen a video on it. I freaking love this car. I would love, love, love to test drive one of these. I feel like that these are just awesome, right? If there's one thing that Europe has always been the king of, and now, Japan has come close, but it's hot hatches. I mean, European hot hatches, to me, they're just the best. They hit different. They know what they're doing. Even in the 80s, they did. That leads us to number 9, the Spania GTA Spano. Wow. What a interesting vehicle. I've never heard of this one. Based around Dodge Viper V10 engines, it debuted in 2013. However, it had a supercharger, bringing the power up to 900 horsepower and 738 foot-pounds of torque. As if the V10 wasn't enough, it's supercharged. That had to be a big supercharger to fit on there. It worked with a Spanish nanotechnology company called Grafano and claims to use graphene in the bodywork to improve structural rigidity. Damn, this thing is literally out of a video game. Holy crap. Look at that interior. My goodness. That is spectacular. I like the interior a lot. Wow. Look at those pedals. This thing is serious. Is this all carbon fiber back here? You know what? I kind of don't like it and love it at the same time. Like, I first look at it and I'm like, what the hell is this? But I kind of like it. I don't know. This thing's probably really freaking fast. Then we have the Adamaster P003RL. Definitely not winning the name awards with this one. This is from Portugal, though. So I didn't even know Portugal had a supercar, but here we are. I mean, this is like a track car, tubular aluminum frame, adjustable suspension, lightweight composite bodywork, a reliable engine, rather. In this case, Ford EcoBoost in 4 or 6-cylinder form. That's cool that you can get different ones. So this is road legal. And take a look at this thing. This is pretty wicked. I'll say this. I think the front is pretty cool, right? It's got good dimensions. I love the hood. The shape of it is very interesting, very intriguing. I bet it's a cool view of the hood from the driver's seat. I don't like the back. The taillights are like too small almost. It just looks a little thrown together in the back. You know what? It looks okay. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but it's, who cares? This car is going to be a lot of fun, right? And it's not like a big 1,000 horsepower V12, right? This is a reasonable, actually fun track car that you can toss around, and it's street legal. So, I mean, arguably, it's kind of like the Miata effect. This is probably the most fun on this whole list you could have, because you're not going to be, stepping on the throttle in this, and it's going to be like opening, a portal. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be reasonable, manageable power in this. I bet this is actually a lot of freaking fun to drive, maybe the most fun here. We're finally ending it with this one, Donkervoort D8 Cosworth. This is a Dutch supercar. This is insane. Outlandish sports car built with zero compromise attitude. It has a turbo 4-cylinder from Ford Sierra Cosworth. I'd say they're pretty reputable, huh? No driving aids, and weighs just 1,398 pounds. I'm going to round up. Okay, I'm sorry to do you dirty. 1,400 pounds. That is extremely light. Ridiculously light, actually. It only has 280 horsepower, but when you're in a car that light, doesn't matter. It's going to be fast. And, 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds is no joke at all. It reminds me, like it said up here, of a Caterham. I think that's what they're called. I've heard of the Caterham 7 before. This looks very similar, although maybe it's better, right? You guys got to hash it out in the comments. Do you take the Caterham 7 or do you take a Donkervoort? I probably said that wrong. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm sure you'll roast me for my pronunciation. It's okay. It's well-deserved. That one is interesting. I like it. I just don't... The whole, like, kind of really small open cars don't appeal to me as much. I respect them. And, again, this would probably be tons and tons of fun to toss around. Part of it, I think, comes from... I'm not fitting in this thing. My head's going to be up here. It's going to be a ugly sight. Let's just say that. That was a lot of fun. Those are truly 11 cars I've never heard of from Europe, although I'm going to knock that down to 10 because I did hear of that Renault 5 Turbo. That thing is pretty cool. So they didn't get me totally. But the other 10, yeah, I had no idea. Which one of these vehicles would you take in your garage? I would love to hear about it. Hell, maybe even own one of these already. This was fun. I appreciate you being here. It's the weekend. Have a great one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.